Hello, Chicago. Welcome on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I am your host, Adam Karnick. Lots to get through in tonight's show. We've still got a situation up in Evanston. Of course, the football team is still in shambles. Coach Fitzgerald is gone. They have a replacement head coach. We have recruits that are decommitting. We have players hitting the transfer portal. And now we have lawyers being mobilized. Lots to be going through there. But the football team's not the only one where things are going on. No, the baseball team had its own crazy story going on last week. We will talk about that as well. Then we'll get into the pro stuff. The Cubs have yet another make or break part of their season coming up. The last one before the trade deadline. We'll talk about that. And then we also want to wish a happy birthday to the latest star of the Blackhawks. All that and more coming up right here on Chi-Town Weekly. Do not go anywhere. And hello and good evening, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnick. You have found your way back into Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If this is your first time here, hop on into the chat room if you are listening live here on Spreaker.com. It's free. It won't cost you a thing. Hop on in. We can interact and have some fun that way. You'll find Larry B. and Mike Pat already there in the chat room. Good evening, gentlemen. We can interact, have some fun, back and forth, banter a little bit that way. If you are a returning listener, thank you so very, very, very much. We appreciate your continued support. Tell your friends, let people know. Let's help this show and help this station to continue to grow. We are a station by the fans, for the fans. We've been around for just a little over 9 years now, and we just continue to strive every day to put the best talent, the best shows, the best stories out there for you to discuss, consider, talk about, have as part of your sports day, your sports routine, your sports life. We're here for all of it. Ways that you can interact as well as hanging out in the chat room with us. You can follow along to IE Sports Radio on all the major social media platforms. Find us at IE Sports Radio. That works for Twitter as long as Twitter is still alive. You can find it on Instagram, TikTok, also Facebook. Just search at IE Sports Radio. This show is also available for you on Twitter at IESRC. Or if you want to follow along with me personally on Twitter, I am at Adam_Karnick. Lots to be going through in tonight. Last week, of course, was a very, very, very serious, hard, very tough story to have to get through, quite frankly, and we're not done with it yet. The Northwestern football program just continues to have problems. Pat Fitzgerald, of course, was let go exactly a week ago tonight. It was almost just exactly 7 days ago that Coach Fitzgerald was let go by the university. And the story has continued to have new wrinkles and new elements added to it. If somehow you've missed the entire story to this point, I'll give you a very abridged version. Then I would encourage you go back and listen to last week's episode for a more in-depth analysis and coverage of what exactly went on. Suffice to say, there was hazing all throughout the football program that the university had been made aware of it in November of 2022. The university hired an outside investigation firm to look into it. The investigation came back and let the university know that while the head coach may not have known the extent of what was going on. He had every opportunity to know about what was going on, and he failed to act, and so they recommended that he face some kind of punishment. The university decided not to release the report and simply to suspend the coach for 2 weeks without pay in the middle of July. There then came out details of the report in the Northwestern daily newspaper. The on-campus newspaper released details of the report. What's new for this week, since when we talked about this story last week, is nothing that came out in the Daily Northwestern in the days immediately following Northwestern announcing that Coach Fitzgerald would be suspended for 2 weeks. Nothing that came out in those stories from the Daily Northwestern was new information to the university. The university simply was reacting to the fact that now it was public knowledge. It wasn't simply buried in a report that they had decided not to make public. So Coach Fitzgerald has been let go. He has hired a legal team to attempt to help him to recoup some of his salary, because he's arguing that he wasn't the same reason that he got fired was the same reason that they initially it was good for a suspension. The only thing that changed from being suspended on Friday to being suspended on Friday to being fired on Monday was simply that the public knew that there was no new information. So that's going on. Meanwhile, no one else from the coaching staff is going to be let go. The rest of the staff is going to be retained. So we'll see what goes on there with that. Meanwhile, you're having players hit the transfer portal. There is also a report from today that there's an incoming recruit freshman linebacker, Nigel Glover, has already hit the transfer portal. So they are there are players that are abandoning the program. I'm just getting caught up on the story right now. I'm not sure if that means that he doesn't want to be in the program because of the hazing situation or because they let go of Coach Fitzgerald. That's one thing. There are plenty of people who are still in Coach Fitzgerald's corner around this. There are also one of the wilder things about last week. ESPN reported that the whistleblower in all this may have had a vendetta specifically against Coach Fitzgerald, that he wanted to see Coach Fitzgerald specifically taken down. So there may have been some ulterior motives going on with this. Just a crazy story all the way around. Then also some of the latest news on this today was that some of the former Northwestern football players have hired a legal team. That they have hired civil rights attorney Ben Crump. Crump and his law firm Levin and Perconti have represented a multitude of high-profile clients. This is all courtesy of CBS Sports. Grant Hughes wrote this story for CBS Sports. Crump and his law firm, Levin and Perconti, have represented a multitude of high-profile clients and have discovered, quote, a vast array of incidents of abuse within the Northwestern program. Quote, whether the coaches at Northwestern approved or participated in the harassment of these players or not, they are responsible for allowing and enabling a toxic, disgusting, and damaging culture in their programs. Sadly, our research suggests that this kind of abuse of student athletes may be far more common on college campuses than we know, because there is tremendous pressure to keep quiet. It's time for a reckoning to protect young athletes. That is a quote from Ben Crump after he was hired by some former Northwestern football players. So there's still lots of things going on with that program. This story is still by no means over, but kind of one thing that we did not have time, or I should say I did not take the time for last week because there was so much going on with the football team. The baseball team is in a bit of a state of disarray as well. Just a few days after Coach Fitzgerald was let go, Northwestern fired its head baseball coach, Jim Foster. Foster had spent one season with the team. The team went 10-40 overall, including 4-20 in the Big Ten. However, that has nothing to do with why he was let go. According to several sources that spoke to 670 The Score, a radio station in Chicago, one that I listen to quite a bit. I listen to quite a bit. Danny Parkins there of 670 reported basically the same day that Fitzgerald was let go. This report first hit light that Jim Foster created, quote, a toxic environment that has run off coaches, broken the spirit of his team, and led to a human resources investigation by the university regarding his alleged bullying and verbally abusive behavior. As part of the toxic culture, Foster discouraged players from seeking medical attention for their injuries, made racially insensitive comments, and made an inappropriate comment to a female staff member. Northwestern's internal investigation didn't find enough evidence to corroborate all of the allegations, but the university didn't speak with players on the team while looking into the allegations. This is according to sources that spoke to 670. Pitchers in particular hid their injuries from Foster due to his demanding nature, and they instead sought treatment from the head trainer away from the field. One player had an elbow injury and pushed too hard to return because Foster wanted him back by a certain date. That player wound up needing Tommy John surgery. Foster also told multiple upperclassmen that they should quit if they didn't return from injuries sooner than expected. And that's a story that they dove into a little bit more in the days after. Foster, this was not his first head coaching experience in the NCAA. He had just come over from West Point, coaching the Army team, where there were several players that then spoke and said, oh yeah, this sort of thing went on here too. And in previous stops that he had, there were similar things that had gone on. So Jim Foster has been let go, and former White Sox player Brian Anderson, who was on the staff there, has now jumped into the interim head coaching role. 15 players from Northwestern's baseball team had entered the transfer portal this past season, and when they spoke to various reporters about it, they said Jim Foster was a big reason why they were going into the transfer portal. So lots of stuff going on there at Northwestern. The athletic director, Derek Gregg, did release a statement. I'm going to quote it here. Nothing will ever be more important to Northwestern than providing its students a place that allows them to develop in the classroom, in the community, and in competition at the absolute highest level, and building a culture which allows our staff to thrive. This has been an ongoing situation, and many factors were considered before reaching this resolution. As the director of athletics, I take ownership of our head coaching hires, and we will share our next steps as they unfold. Greg did hire Foster, though he was very much he was very much pressured into the hire. He had looked at a couple other guys who had said no. There were then boosters for the baseball team that had played back in the 80s and said, "Oh, Jim Foster is a great hard-nosed coach. That's exactly what this program needs. Hire Jim Foster or else we're pulling some money from the program." So that is part of why Foster was hired in the first place. There's question about whether or not Greg vetted him properly in the first place. But Greg, the athletic director there at Northwestern, has publicly taken ownership of the situation. Derek Gragg has taken ownership of the situation. We'll see how it goes, but there seems to be some issues going on there up in Evanston. So once again, crazy stuff to be following along with there in, as they call themselves, Chicago's Big Ten team. We'll keep you posted on all of that, but doesn't look like either of these stories are necessarily going away anytime soon. Going to be lots of things to deal with there in Northwestern. So yeah, lots to keep us up with. Lots to keep up with there. We're going to take a quick break, and then when we come back, we're going to lighten things up a bit. I want to talk about some of the professionals in town. Specifically, I want to talk about the Cubs. I know we've talked about it before, but this really is it. This is their final make or break stretch of the season. They are just underway at Wrigley right now. We'll explain why this is it for the 2023 Cubs. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
Well, what is up, Carolina Nation? This is John Felipe of the Carolina Cast, of course, the podcast of, by, and for the Carolinas, right here on IE Sports, your direct feed for all that is sports. And I'm reminding you to tune in Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern for the latest in Carolina sports, whether it's the Panthers that keep on pounding, the fly natures of the Hornets, the storming Hurricanes, the battle of the Blues with Duke and UNC, the fight of the Clemson Tigers, or the amazing atmosphere of any Carolina college. I'm talking App State, I'm talking ECU. I've got you covered. Once again, tune in for the Carolina Cast with me, John Felipe, Fridays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No. Not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
What's good, everyone? It's Drewski, the host of Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. On this station, we cover everything in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area. From we cover the Dallas Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, Dallas Wings, Texas Rangers, TCU, SMU, we cover it all right here every Wednesdays from 9 to 10 p.m. Central Time. Make sure you stay live with me on the Heart of Texas Sports on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, Boston sports fans? This is Mikey Two Guns here, your host of Our Bleepin' City, airing every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Please join me. We'll talk everything Boston sports, all the local teams, college teams. I'm even down to talk MMA, boxing, whatever you guys want. So join me every Wednesday night, 7 to 8 p.m. Chime in with your questions on the chat, tweet the show. We'll even have call-ins. I can't wait to hear from you guys. This is going to be a lot of fun. So once again, it's Our Bleepin' City. I am your host, Mikey Two Guns, every Wednesday night from 7 to 8 p.m. right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. See you soon, people.
He swings on the first pitch, charges one out to left. That ball's deep at the ivy, and it's gone as Duran runs out of room. And Bellinger hits his second of the night, 11th of the year, sends Wrigley into a frenzy. The Cubs are within two.
And welcome back to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. Thank you to our sister station, USRN, for that highlight. Cody Bellinger certainly had himself an excellent weekend, hitting 3 home runs, 2 on Friday night, and then a grand slam on Saturday afternoon against the Red Sox. Unfortunately, Boston took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs in that. So, not the best of weekends for the Cubs. That was Matt Owens on that call, by the way. The 2 home runs for Cody Bellinger. Those were on Friday night. The Cubs lost that game, unfortunately. Bellinger's home runs were basically it for the offense that particular night. So the second half is underway. The Cubs, I know we've talked about this a couple of times now. We've discussed this a little bit, that this is a make or break. We talked about it after they got back from London, that was a 13-game stretch that was really going to be an important make or break for them heading into the All-Star break, that they had a real opportunity to gain some ground, gain some momentum, make up some ground in the standings, and they did not go very well. Then they come out of the All-Star break and they drop 2 out of 3 to Boston. I know Mikey Two Guns over at our Bleepin' City will be excited and happy about that. He'll have nothing but good things to say about that, I'm sure, on his show Thursday evening. It wasn't good for me, though. I didn't care for it all that much. I would have much rather seen the Cubs be the ones to take 2 out of 3, but now they've got themselves. This is it. This has to be the final make or break for them on the season. Why? Because the All-Star break, the trade deadline is right around the corner. There's no turning back at this point. There is just no turning back at all with it at this point. You've got just a couple of weeks before the trade deadline on August 1st. And as we sit here right now, the Cubs are entering play right now. The Cubs are 8 games back of the Brewers. They are 6 games back of the Reds for second place in the division. They are third place in the Central, 6 games under 500, 43 and 49. They're only 7 back in the loss column. So they're 8 games back overall, but only 7 back in the loss column. So, they're right on the brink. They're right on the brink. They're also 8 games out in the wild card race. So, it's going to be a lot easier to get in by winning the division than trying to sneak in as a wild card. So what have they got going on here? Well, they've got 3 games with the Nationals starting right now. They are in the bottom of the second inning. Unfortunately, the Nationals are up 2-0. A 2-run homer to left field gave the Nationals an early 2-0 lead. The Cubs to this point have just 1 hit in the bottom of the second. That's the aforementioned Cody Bellinger with the 1 hit tonight. So they play the Nationals tonight, tomorrow, Wednesday, all night games. Then they've got 4 games at home against the Cardinals Thursday night, and then day games Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Monday off, then 2 against the White Sox next week, and then 4 more against the Cardinals down in St. Louis next weekend, next Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So ample opportunity here. They've got 13 games against teams that are all sub 500. The White Sox are absolutely going to be sellers. The Nationals might very well be sellers at the deadline. Mike Pat covers the Nationals as part of his show, Let's Whine About Sports, on Friday nights, and I know he spends a lot more time talking about the Orioles because A, they're his team, and B, they're far more interesting right now. The Nationals are getting ready to gear up to be bad and sell whatever they can probably at this point. I'm not sure what the Nationals would have to offer. And then, of course, the Cardinals have been one of the most underwhelming teams in baseball. The Cubs have a great opportunity here, but they've they've got to hit the nail right on the head. This isn't, you can't go 7-6 in these 13 games. I don't even think you could go 8-5. I think bare minimum, you've got to win all 4 of these series. 2 out of 3 against Washington, 3 out of 4 in both Cardinals series, and you got to take both against the White Sox. I don't think you can afford to lose any of these series. And what does that add up to? That's 10-3. That's what you've got to do right now in this stretch. 9-4 minimum right now, so that you can get yourself, if not back to 500, staring at the door of 500 and getting over the hump. And then you've got the trade deadline. You've got to know, are you buying or are you selling? Because you've got 2 huge names sitting out there that teams are going to be very interested in. One being Cody Bellinger. We talked about that 3 home runs in that series against Boston. That's given him 12 now on the year. He has absolutely had a resurgence, betting on himself on the 1-year deal that he took with the Cubs this offseason to prove that he still had power and pop in his bat. And you look at his numbers, he's absolutely, when he's been out there, he's shown you that he can do it. He's hitting .301, which is, this day and age, that's phenomenal to be doing that in this day and age. 61 games played, a .301 batting average, 12 homers, 35 RBIs, an OPS of 882 on the season. He's shown you that it's there. That the bat has returned. The center field, you knew that was there. You knew that he was still a good defensive center fielder, but he's shown you that the offense is there. There's going to be a market there for him. There's going to be some interest there in him. And look at what he's done. Now, this was from Saturday night's broadcast on Marquee. Over his last 17 games, over a 17-game stretch, he was hitting .444, 5 home runs, 3 doubles, an OPS of 1208, and he had a hit in 16 of the 17 games. An outstanding stretch there for Cody Bellinger. But if you're going to be selling, he's going to be somebody that players are going to be interested in. There's going to be teams interested in him. And also for the Cubs, you've got a tremendous center fielder of the future coming up through the minors in Pete Crow Armstrong. I think even if the Cubs are buyers at the deadline, I don't think they bring Bellinger back next season. I think they let him walk. I think he leaves for someplace where he can play center field on a regular basis there. I want to say hello, by the way, to Taryn Rodriguez hopping in the chat, the host of Set Point here on USR. And he would be right after us, but he had to go earlier in the day today. I managed to catch part of his show on my lunch break. He's now returning the favor. He's on his he called it a lunch break. I would call it a dinner break at this point. If it's 5:30 in the evening out there in California, that's a dinner break to me. But thanks for tuning in, Taryn. Appreciate it. So I think Bellinger is not going to return anyway. I think he's out the door, as the Cubs got themselves a run there in the bottom of the second. So it's 2-1 right now. I'm trying to get the Christopher Morel with an RBI single. There we go. That's what it was. So Christopher Morel with the single there. But the other player, of course, that's huge, and everybody from that everybody that's talking to the Cubs is going to be interested in is, of course, Marcus Stroman. You've got interest from the Toronto Blue Jays. Stroman used to pitch for them back in the day. There's reportedly some interest from today. The USA Today reported that the Houston Astros are interested in him. They're also interested in Bellinger. So there's going to be teams we've talked about in the past. The Baltimore Orioles could be interested in Marcus Stroman. We know that the Cubs and the Orioles have a history of doing deals together, so there could be some mutual interest there to continue to do business together. Admittedly, those deals have tended to benefit the Cubs when they've made those deals, so maybe the Orioles would be a little gun shy. I'm not sure. They don't want to get taken again at this point, but it's going to be very interesting. Daniel Greenberg was reporting that Toronto is interested in Stroman. Stroman's got a year left on his contract, but it's a player option, and he's made it clear he wants to stay in Chicago, but he's going to decline that option. He's outplayed that option. And the Cubs have made it clear that they don't do contract negotiations mid-season. They feel like they're betting against themselves when they do that they're bidding against themselves. They don't want to do that. They want the market to kind of help dictate whether or not they're making a fair offer. So that's going to be very interesting. I don't like the idea of the Cubs selling. I'll be honest. The Cubs themselves, it was almost a month ago, the Cubs themselves talked about how they didn't want to sell. They were planning on buying. And that's still where I'd like to see them. But at the same time, I get it. They didn't expect to be 6 games under 500 and in third place in the division at this point. You know, you kind of figured that they would be a little bit closer to the top, that it would be the Cubs and the Brewers at this point duking it out, maybe within a couple, 2-3 games of each other. And instead, the Cubs are 8 games out. They can't afford to fall much further behind. And the Reds are coming back down to earth a little bit. Their schedule is getting tougher. But you look at what the Brewers have got. Now, they're off tonight, but they've got the Phillies Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Then they host the Braves. Now, the Braves just dropped 2 out of 3 to the White Sox. So the Brewers might be catching the Braves at just the right time. Then they got the Reds and then the Braves again. You know, they could... There'll be some opportunity there for the Cubs potentially to make up some room with the Brewers a little bit, but also the Brewers might surprise you with a few here. So the Cubs they can't afford to drop many more of these. This week especially is going to be massive. These next 7 games, the 3 against Washington and the 4 against St. Louis, are going to be huge games at Wrigley Field, and definitely worth paying attention to. We'll see where they're at when we talk next week. Hopefully, when we talk next week, they'll have gone 5-2 in these 7 games, and we'll feel like, all right, this is where they need to be. We're feeling good about this. They've made up a game or 2 in the standings, and they're getting ready to look at adding. Otherwise, I think we'll be talking next week about what you could be getting for Stroman or Bellinger in a trade. All right, we're going to take one more break, and then on the other side, it's somebody's birthday today. Somebody who hasn't done anything yet for the city of Chicago sports, but we're hoping is going to be doing some outstanding things for Chicago sports in the near future. We'll talk about that next here on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
All right. Welcome to AZ Sports Daily. I'm your host, Kiernan Daly, bringing the heat to Arizona sports. There's no discrimination here. We're going to talk about every sports team, professional and college. The show is all about you, the listener. I'm here to entertain you. Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here? It's going to be fun, high energy. You may not agree with what I say. That's okay. Let me hear you. Let's talk about it. Join me every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on AZ Sports Daily. That's AZ Sports, D-A-L-E-Y, and at IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, everyone. My name is Daryl Kinsey Jr., and I'm welcoming you to take another lap with the fastest show on IE Sports Radio. Yes, this is the Extra Mile with me and my co-hosts Christopher Lehman and Michael Ward. We talk everything racing from NASCAR to IndyCar to Formula One to limited hydroplanes, endurance racing, the NHRA, and more. So come join us for an hour of great racing talk and a lot of fun as well on the Extra Mile, Thursdays at 8 p.m. only on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, it's your boy, the SoCal Saint, the host of the premier professional wrestling podcast online today, the IE Elite Wrestling Show. If you're a fan and have a passion for the world of professional wrestling, this is the show for you. I take you inside the ropes with all the athleticism, high-flying, and hard-hitting action, and then we take it backstage with all the backstage drama and backstabbing that goes on in the world of professional wrestling today. If something's going on in the world of professional wrestling, rest assured, the SoCal Saint knows what's going on, and he's going to let you know too. If you're a fan, check us out every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on IE Sports Radio. The IE Elite Wrestling Show, your direct feed for all that is professional wrestling, on the only network that is your direct feed for all that is sports. Check us out.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Hey sports fans, are you in the market for Florida sports or just keeping up with the latest in the Panhandle? Palm Tree Sports is a dedicated audio hub to all things sports in the Sunshine State. We cover current events, big news, heavily favored opinions all across the NFL, NBA, MLB, and so much more. So come check us out every Saturday evening at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a down south education on Florida sports and athletics. It's hosted by yours truly, Corey Pujols, and is powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick with you here for about another 10 minutes or so on the show here this Monday evening. So, July 17th, 2005, what were you doing that day? For me personally, I can't speak to specifically what I was doing, but in general, I was almost certainly working. I was enjoying my last summer before going away to college. I had graduated high school about 6-7 weeks earlier than that, and I had about another 3 or 4 weeks yet before I had to pack my bags and move into Concordia University River Forest and begin my collegiate career, begin my college studies. I was excited, nervous, definitely nervous. Had some time practicing trumpet. I'm sure I was playing cards in the evening with my friends, all those kind of good things. Well, July 17th, 2005, one Connor Bedard was being born. The Blackhawks' first-round draft pick, first overall, officially turned 18 years old today and celebrated by signing his entry-level contract with the Blackhawks. He's 18 years old. He's able to legally sign a contract in the United States in the age of majority. He's no longer a minor, so it's a little easier to do that. It's a 3-year contract, carries a cap hit of $950,000. That's the maximum that a entry-level contract can be in the NHL. He's also, though, got all kinds of incentives built in there where he can make lots and lots of extra money there. Lots of incentives for him there in the deal. So, a signing bonus in there as well. He can hit if he hits some different parameters, such as if he's in the top 4 in scoring forwards on the team this year. If he helps lead the team in ice time, the minimum of some games, things like that, he can earn. He's got over $3 million in bonuses that he can hit over the life of the contract too. Plus, if he ever winds up, say winning the Hart Trophy or the Conn Smythe or anything like that, basically best player in the NHL or MVP of the playoffs, things like that, he can wind up making some serious extra bonus money too. So happy birthday to Connor Bedard. Can't wait to be watching him at United Center this fall and this winter. I know he keeps very humbly maintaining that he's not even a lock to make the final roster, but no. He's going to make the team out of camp. Quote from Blackhawks general manager Kyle Davidson: "Signing Connor is a huge step in building a new foundation for our organization. We're excited to see him grow and play a large role in pushing our team forward for many years to come." So congratulations and happy birthday there. Also some some Blackhawks related hockey news. Marian Hossa is going to be hosting a final game, a goodbye game that he's going to be having here this summer. You might remember that Hossa a few years ago had to step away from the Blackhawks and had to step away from hockey in general. In April of 2017, he had a skin condition that basically wearing a hockey sweater and wearing the hockey gear caused his skin to break out in a very serious rash. So he hasn't played competitive hockey since then. His contract got traded to Arizona. He never played for the Coyotes. He was named to the 2020 class. He was named to the Hockey Hall of Fame in 2020. The Blackhawks officially brought him back last April so that he could retire as a Blackhawk, and then he's had his number retired. Well, he's set up for himself a final goodbye game in his hometown of Trenton on August 18th. The proceeds will go to his nonprofit organization, Hoss Heroes. But listen to some of the names that he's got lined up to play in this game. Nicholas Lidstrom, Zdeno Chara, Dustin Byfuglien, Nicholas Hjalmarsson, Martin Havlat, Patrick Sharp, Marian Gaborik, Thomas Kopechki, Daniel Alfredson, Michael Handzus, Miroslav Satan, Michael Roosevelt, and then, former Blackhawks captain Jonathan Toews. And it'll be interesting to see if Toews doesn't inadvertently one-up his former teammate and good friend Hossa's goodbye by announcing that Toews himself is also formally retiring from the NHL. It certainly looks like he's going to be retiring, but he hasn't made an announcement yet on anything there. But he might use that opportunity there of playing at that game to announce his retirement as well. So some cool hockey stuff coming up with the Blackhawks and with some Blackhawks alumni. That's going to do it for us tonight. A little bit of everything. We had, again, more serious stuff going on in Evanston. We will keep up on everything going on there and let you know as more craziness unfolds at Northwestern University. Hopefully things will settle down and calm down a little bit there. And had some fun talking about the Cubs and a lot of fun talking about the Blackhawks and some of their off-season festivities. We are it for IE Sports Radio tonight. Karen was on earlier today, so that will be it until tomorrow. We have lots of stuff coming up tomorrow, starting off with the return of the IE Elite show. Everything you want to know about the wonderful world of wrestling. IE Elite Wrestling Show, Martin Sandoval, he'll have that for you at noon Central Time. Then Patty Backs with the Buffalo Huddle tomorrow evening, 6 Central, 7 o'clock Eastern. Philly Sports right after them. And we'll see if Zach and I come on tomorrow night with Neutral Zone. I got to talk with him. We'll see what has been going on in the hockey world. And then, of course, capping everything off tomorrow night, it's Cale Henderson with Sin City Sports. So lots going on tomorrow. As for this show, next week, training camp. It's been a while since we've talked Bears. It's been a long time since we've had some down-to-earth Chicago Bears conversations. I think we're going to fix that next week. Training camp officially will open next week. We'll go a little Bears heavy. We'll talk about what some of the major stories are heading into camp, and I think I'm going to allow myself to get a little fan tipsy next week. You know, everybody talks about we want to do predictions of how do you think the season's going to go? What are your expectations? And I usually try to keep a pretty level head when making those. I think I might go a little nuts next week and just go completely over the defense. We'll see. We'll also check in on how the Cubs and Sox have been. Lots to keep up with. Until then, I am Adam Karnick for IE Sports Radio. Have a great night, everybody.